Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mind of Sai Marie. Today, we are looking at the roots of resilience and the fragility of our foundations, specifically within our own minds. This May, in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, we are diving deep into what it means to heal, to reach out, and to remember that even in our darkest moments, we do not walk this path by ourselves. My guest today has written a deeply moving book that serves as a powerful lens for the internal struggles shaping so many lives today. Doug Lawrence is the author of You Are Not Alone, a profound exploration of what happens when our internal world fractures and how we find the courage to rebuild. Doug, it's an absolute pleasure to have you in the studio today. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I always welcome the chance to get the message out there, and especially this particular month with it being mental awareness and mental health. It's really important for us to do so.
So, you've mapped out an emotional landscape in your book that many will find deeply relatable, one that explores the heavy weight of hidden pain. What was it about the breaking point of the silent struggle that made you want to dive into this specific narrative?
Large part of it was my family. I saw what because of the mental health challenges and stuff that I was personally going through, that I saw what it was doing to my family, and I realized at that stage that I needed to do something to right the wrong, fix the problem, change the course, and improve my ability to be able to go on that healing journey.
So, You Are Not Alone explores how easily we can drift into isolation without even realizing it. Why do you think this theme of emotional awakening and vulnerability resonates so deeply with readers in today's high pressure cultural climate?
I think a large part of it is because it's all around us. And if we take the time, sort of take that step back and observe what's happening to others, we see some semblance of similarity, I guess, for the best way to describe it. There are similarities that make us sort of take the step back and say, okay, I don't really like what I'm seeing, and I obviously don't appreciate or like what it does to my family. So I need to take steps to rectify that.
So, you focused heavily on the social web of support and human connection. How do you write about a person losing their internal clarity or sense of hope without losing faith in the journey of the individual themselves?
Well, I think the most important piece is that you don't go on the journey by yourself. What I've found is the more often I can plug myself into somebody who has walked in those shoes before, that it doesn't make my healing journey go away, but what it does do is it makes the journey more palatable, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. It's not as it's not as ugly of a trip as what it could be without that.
So, in the book, you've got individuals who have to pivot away from isolating habits and look toward a hard earned internal strength. Based on your writing and your work, what do you think is the hardest thing for a person to reclaim once mental wellness or peace of mind has been lost?
You know, the biggest thing, and I still go through it myself even today, is the connections that you had that you end up losing as a result of going through what you're going through, the dealing with the mental health challenges and stuff like that. It I think that what we need to be able to do is to be able to go on that journey with somebody walking beside us, and that's just going to help us on that healing journey. It's not going to go away. It's not going to be a piece of cake. It's going to be work, but it's just so much better when you can do that work beside somebody.
So, we talk a lot about reclaiming empowerment on the show. In your world, empowerment looks like an awakening to our own need for help. What can readers learn from the quiet resilience of those who recognize the cracks in their mental well being before a total collapse happens?
You know, the big thing is that one of the sort of my catchphrases is that, well, obviously you are not alone is one of them. But more importantly, what I find is that if I can encourage people to come out, as I describe it, come out of the closet, extend their hand and ask for help, we're just that much further ahead in dealing with number one, mental health and mental illness. But more importantly, we are creating that support structure, which is so vital for the success of mental health healing.
So, the road to opening up your soul and completing a book this vulnerable is long and often humbling. What was the biggest level up you had to experience as a writer to handle such heavy psychological and philosophical themes while keeping the narrative immersive and deeply human?
Well, I think, I approached it from a couple angles. Number one, I approached it from the clinical side where the research supported a large part of what it is or what it was I was working on. But you also had to be able to take what you've learned and be able to apply it from a practical sense. And that's where the two different streams were there. I just needed to bring them together so that I had both psychological basically to create a psychologically safe place for us to be able to deal with those challenges and issues.
So, your book deals heavily with leadership under fire, which in a mental health context often means guiding someone through a crisis. When someone's world starts to burn, metaphorically speaking, does the role of a support figure change from a passive listener to an active doer?
And I caution our listeners that you have to be very, very careful, very sensitive about the difference between guiding and doing. And we want to stay away from sort of saying you need to do it this way because of, that's how I dealt with it. We want to be able to make sure that people that are trying to help others that they do it from, and I typically refer to it as a question and answer process where I get them to open up and share what's going on in their life and get them to talk a lot more openly about what it is that they're dealing with so that we can work together in being able to address that.
So, if you could give one piece of advice to an individual or a family currently feeling those first cracks of an emotional fracture, what would that be?
It would be to come out of the closet and reach out and ask for help. That there is no real legitimate reason why you need to go on this journey by yourself. That, from my perspective, certainly from what my lived experience has taught me, is that I just need to reach out, and there's always going to be somebody there to help.
So, if your book were a bridge between the isolated struggles we keep hidden and the healing reality we want to live in, what is the one virtue or truth you hope people take with them across that bridge?
I think that what they need to be able, if you're going across that bridge, you want to make sure that you're not crossing the bridge on your own, that you're actually taking somebody with you that's going to act as your guide, because there's no real reason why you would want to make that journey on your own, especially knowing, that it's a tough enough journey as it is, and yet we're going to compound it by suggesting to you that you need to do it on your own, and that's just not going to work.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing your vision and your vulnerability and obviously your incredible craft with me today. It's been an illuminating journey into the heart of what allows a person to truly survive and thrive. Is there anything else or any other works that you have coming or currently on the market that you'd like to talk about?
For the time being, I would say that if people take the time to read You Are Not Alone, that they'll get a lot of insight. And if they're interested in, what else is available out there, I'm sure a simple search on the internet would get them those resources that they need.
I will definitely have things linked in the show notes on that note. So, to everyone listening, please make sure that you do check the show notes for the description and the link on where you can pick up Doug's books. And get your hands on You Are Not Alone today. So it's a perfect time to get it, especially during this Mental Health Awareness Month. And we're coming towards the end of that. But as you know, mental health is important every day and every month. So let this be a powerful reminder of integrity, connection, and renewal. And remember that the mind is the most important story that we'll ever tell. Thank you for listening to the Mind of Sai Marie.